Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about a more serious topic than usually. As I've told you before, I lived in London for about 9 months. And when I was there, I used to work in the event catering industry. Now, the problem is nowadays it's very popular to move to London for a short amount of time, as a gap year or something like that. And even though London is such a big city, the job market is a lot more limited than what you would expect. So most people end up working either in fast food or in the event catering industry. The problem only is that if you have probably 10 times as many people as you would need in a certain company, you end up being just a number. And you can be easily discarded once you make one mistake, which is where this whole story actually starts. So in my first days I had a job interview with this event catering company. And they didn't call me for about a week. And I got a bit nervous, but then some of my friends went there as well and they asked them about it, and then I finally got my call. And we were sent on our first shift together. Now in the beginning we worked in this thing called Excel, which stands for Exhibition Centre London, I believe. And it's this big mess hall where they have like all these small halls and then they have a big hallway connecting them. And then they have a lot of coffee stands and food stands and stuff like that in between, and restaurants. It's a massive thing. For example, Comic-Con would be held there. I worked on Comic-Con once. That was cool. Let's just talk about that for a second. This whole place was absolutely disorganized. You would be sent to a different thing every single time. So for example, if you were in the Mexican food stand and you learned how to do burritos and nachos and that kind of stuff, you would never end up working there again. You would just be sent to the next thing, which doesn't make sense because first of all, the manager has to teach somebody new every time, and the people who know it will never be able to use their skills again, so not sure what the logic is there. Additionally, you would often work in coffee stands, and some people tell you new people aren't allowed to make coffee, and some people tell you new people aren't allowed to use the till. So what are you supposed to do? Breathe? So after working there for a couple of weeks, we got sent on our first waiting shift. Now the thing is, since I had no waiting experience, obviously, I didn't know if I could clear 5 plates yet on a table, which is what you're supposed to do usually, especially when there's really official events and stuff like that. Now there were 2 managers, and my big mistake was I did ask the wrong manager if it would be bad if I would not be able yet to clear 5 plates off a table. Now that didn't even exactly mean I'm not able to, I was just wondering what would happen if I couldn't. But she immediately decided she's putting me on the drinks team, which is already not a good sign. And then afterwards she called my company and they complained about me. Now even though my manager seemed to be chill about it, I suddenly, instead of 5 10-hour shifts in Excel, had 2 4-hour shifts, which is already not enough to live on in London. Also, I failed to see the connection between not being able to clear plates and working on a till in a coffee shop. Like, I'm not sure why this thing affected this thing, but that's proving how awful this whole industry is, because you do one mistake, you ask one wrong question, and you can completely forget to get enough work to live off. And this whole thing went on for months. Like, I really didn't get a lot of work anymore, ever. In between I had a few jobs, but it would never go back to the state where I could live comfortably, meaning I would never get enough work to actually have money left for anything, really, honestly. Now, a bit later I was put into Excel one last time, but I was put into a restaurant and I had kind of a bad day and I dropped 2 things, which had the manager getting really angry at me and just sending me home, which is a bit excessive if you think about it. And then on the same evening my company called me and told me basically they're never giving me work ever again. So now I was basically screwed. I didn't have work anymore. I still had a third of a room, which costs 520 euros, which you might know if you watched the video about my roommate situation. I was living now in London without a job, which is not gonna work well, and it could have gone down a very, very bad road actually. Then the whole thing happened where I ended up applying to 85 jobs. This is also where the story time with the sexual harassment happened. That's where the story time happened with the weird group hiring thing and all these other things I talked about in the same videos. In the meantime, I also had this other event catering company that I worked for, and I went on 1 shift. And then I got a call from the manager being like, they did put me on inactive because I'm not sure anymore what they told me. They weren't happy with something I did. I'm really not sure what I did wrong there. And then he told me I should come into his office to talk about it. But then he only told me that I'm not gonna work for them anymore. He also said he's not that kind of person that tells that people on the phone. Which, like, you know I have no money, why... I don't get people sometimes. You know it costs like 6 euros to go there and back, which is food for 6 days, so thanks for taking my food money away just to tell me in person that you're gonna fire me, like... Now, a bit later, one of my friends that was still working with my initial event catering company told me that the manager I had did quit apparently, or he just vanished. Like, nobody knew where he went, he was just gone. And there was just one manager left. Now, I did try to contact them, and I think she was a bit overworked from having everybody on her now. However, a bit later she ended up giving me work. I still to this day don't know if she don't know why he didn't want to give me work anymore, or if she just saw things differently, but she ended up giving me work so I could end up still living in London, which was great because I still had things to do. And then the funniest thing is, in the end I had one place where they apparently gave me and the other person that worked there a very, very good feedback. And they even wanted us to work for them directly so they didn't have to pay the company, which the company obviously didn't know. And then at the same time the company tried to offer me more work. But ironically that was the very last day I spent in London, so I was just about to move out and had no chance to make any of that. Which is sad if you think about it, because I could have made some serious money at this point. Thinking back about all of this, it's just very funny to me how one bad question can end up with you having no job at all, and one good job can end up with you having all the work you want to ever have. All in all though, I would not recommend anybody to ever work in the event catering industry in London, because you just have no guarantee to have work really, and you might end up in such a dramatic situation as I did, where I did sit around at home for about 1 or 2 months because I had no work, basically. So, being the professional YouTuber that I am, I completely forgot to film any sort of outro, so I'm doing that now at 3 in the morning while I should be asleep since a couple of hours. The video should have been uploaded 5 hours ago, and also actually a week before, so you're seeing that's going great, obviously. This is definitely the last bigger story time I'm going to make about London. There's gonna be one final video with a few smaller things to finish it all off, but after that it's gonna be more about traveling story times and things that happened after London. So for example, I'm gonna tell you about a time I lived in a fraternity house in Germany, which was quite a thing. If any of you ever lived in London, tell me about it. I'm very interested in stories that might have been more successful, or in stories that have been just like mine, so I don't feel stupid here. I would generally love any comments, likes, or if you even subscribe, that would be amazing. So yeah, see you next time. Where I could live comfortably, comfortably? 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 I'm googling that. Comfortably. What was I even saying with comfortably?